السلام
السلام.
عليكم ورحمة السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. And we certainly hope that you've been having a warm evening right here on Salam Media. This is Lukman Skink, and it is evening talk with myself. And of course, I just introduced myself. And we certainly hope that you are going to tune in for the next 2 hours or so, inshallah, for some provoking subjects that we are going to be, talking about on the program tonight. Of course, every Tuesday we begin with politics. And as you know, the ANC has pretty much been trending for all the reasons over this weekend. We had people learning how to sing in Zulu. Broadcasters that did not know how to speak Zulu had to brush up on their Zulu because the ANC in KwaZulu Natal was holding the elective conference, and the Taliban faction basically won and took out the Ankole faction from leadership in that province. And I'm sure you may have seen some of the commentary about the ANC KZN provincial elective conference. People saying that around the world, people are confused as to why the Taliban has taken over the ANC in KZN. What does Afghanistan got to do with ANC politics? But of course, that's just the name of one of the factions which have emerged victorious. We're going to get you a bit of analysis about that. But we also want to look forward towards the ANC Policy Conference, which begins this week at Nasrec. And it's that all-important conference in which the political class talk about what policies are they going to pursue, what policies are they going to review. And the big talking point is the step-aside resolution. Is that going to be under threat? What's going to happen with the step-aside resolution? Well, we are going to find out when the actual conference begins. But just to get you a bit of a preview, Dr. John Molepo from the University of Mpumalanga, he's our guest, and he's going to be joining us in a few seconds from now. After that, we turn our attention towards Palestine and Hamza Hamushin rather. He is the North Africa Program Coordinator at the Transnational Institute. He's our guest. He's a prolific writer and author, and of course, we want to touch base with him about some of the issues that impact development in the north of Africa. And of course, we want to find out from him what's the latest with regards to the Tunisian president. Is he spoiling for another dictatorship? And our Africa focus, we speak to Tembisa Fakude, no stranger to Salam Media viewers and listeners. He's a senior research fellow at the Africa-Asia Dialogues, and we want to find out what is behind Russia's charm offensive in Egypt, Ethiopia, and Uganda. You may know that a deal was struck last week with the involvement of Turkey and the United Nations, and we find out as well what's happening in your Islamic finance news, international Islamic finance news. All that and more coming up on Evening Talk with myself, Lukman Skink. Stay tuned. When we come back, we delve into ANC politics. Stay tuned.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Reliable access to clean water could save thousands of lives each day. With proper sanitation and easy access to fresh, clean water, communities can flourish. Our Thirst Relief Appeal provides clean water to communities in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East by building deep wells and providing sustainable water and hygiene solutions. A monthly donation of as little as 700 Rand could build a well for a community in need. That's only 23 Rand a day. Donate today. www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 11 00 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Okay, welcome back to the program. And of course, inshallah, Aziz, we now continue with the ANC interview. Now, before we get to the ANC interview, I just want to give you a little bit of information as to what happened this weekend. Now, the ANC has been in the news of late, very much so, mostly because of the provincial elective conferences taking place in the various provinces. The latest one being in KZN, where an entirely new batch of leaders have been elected. Now, some notable mentions include the emergence of the Taliban faction and the defeat of KZN Premier Sihle Zikalala together with Nomagugu Similane, who made history as the first woman making the top 5 in the province. Now, before I introduce my guest, let's take you back to the scenes of the 9th ANC KZN Provincial Conference. Take a look. Okay, so President Cyril Ramaphosa was subjected to the same treatment as the acting Deputy Secretary General and Treasurer General Paul Mashatile, who stood up to speak on the weekend. I think it was a Friday, and they sang that song that you're hearing, that you just saw and you heard, basically in Zulu. People saying, "When's Zuma? What did Zuma do? What has he done? Leave Zuma alone." So, basically meaning that the former president has got quite a lot of support in that province now. The hostile reception that President Ramaphosa had to contend with a stiff upper lip. How deeply do the divisions within the party run? Leads one to ask that question. But before we answer that question, let's also look at the policy conference, which kicks off this week in Nazareth, right here, not far from where we are broadcasting. And let me introduce my guest. He's no stranger to this program, political analyst and senior lecturer in public administration at the University of Mpumalanga, Dr. John Molepo. Dr. John, good evening to you and welcome to the program. Dr. John, are you there? There you are. Dr. John, are you? I can see you, but I can't hear you. All right. I think Dr. John is struggling with the connection. I'm going to ask Sadiq to try and. There we are. Dr. John, how are you there? Good morning, good evening, rather, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners.
Thank you very much. I was just saying to the listeners that you are no stranger to the program because we've had you on before, and we're quite delighted to have you back on again. I hope you've been keeping warm there in Mpumalanga. How's the winter? How's the load shedding?
No, unfortunately, I stay next to a hospital, so I don't normally see load shedding. But
Wow.
Nelspruit is one of the nicest, coolest place. It's in the low fair.
Yeah. Now that's must be nice, eh? You don't have to worry like the rest of us. But anyway, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Molepo. I just played a snippet of some of the scenes that were seen at the province. I mean, at the KZN ANC provincial conference. There we saw a changing of the guard. There's a new sheriff in town, and I even have, there's even a lady in the top 5. But more importantly, what do you make of how President Ramaphosa was coming to address the closing conference and then was not coming, and then he had to come again at the last minute? And what a hostile reception! Has this ever happened to Ramaphosa before? Yes, go ahead.
No. Well, the conference was hotly contested. Though it's surprising that Sihle Zikalala lost the conference, particularly in all the ANC conferences, provincial conferences, where the premiers were contesting. It's only Sihle who lost the conference. And you must ask yourself why. I think there are various factors. One of the factors is the Zuma issue, how he handled the Zuma issue along his chairmanship in the province, because they were not sure whether the province is supporting Zuma or what. I think also even how the slates were not favoring him. I think he lost conference before COVID because people lost hope with Sihle Zikalala there. But the welcoming of Ramaphosa, I think Ramaphosa made a good choice to come to KZN, because shouldn't he have came to KZN, it was going to be a serious problematic issue in the ANC, because you are saying that president doesn't favor KZN, even though he knew very well that KZN is not his base, and people must be rest assured that KZN remains a Zuma place. So I think the president, even though he did not receive a welcome, but the chairperson displayed some leadership to ensure and to demonstrate that the president of of the country, and also the president of the ANC, goes everywhere. Is the first citizen in the ANC, so he must address each and every conference or congress that is there. So I think the chairperson did very well, but his welcoming was so unfortunate, because people were saying when Zuma and so on. I think also we must take it upon ourselves that KZN remains a Zuma crowd.
Doctor, you're talking about Sihle Zikalala, how surprised you are that he wasn't able to retain his position. We had the Limpopo premier very, very comfortably been able to retain his position. Do you think the statements of Sihle Zikalala about we will no longer support Zuma, do you think such a statement, a comment, came back to haunt him? Because we heard the people in the plenary saying, Sihle Puma Sihle.
Puma Sihle, Puma. I heard also them saying Puma Sihle, but I think his statements of not supporting Jacob Zuma really dealt with him a blow, because remember Zuma, he still has support in KZN, and one thing for sure that I like about people of KZN, they support each other. Once they declare your support, they will support until look all the regions. They at some point they said the secretaries and chairperson went to Nkandla to speak to the former president of the ANC. It tells you that Jacob Zuma still commands support and control there in KZN. So no one can just come there willy-nilly in the KZN and do as they wish. So I think Sihle, that thing also dealt with him, and also his ascendancy to the provincial leadership. You remember Jacob Zuma also played a role. So I think Sihle, his alignment to Ramaphosa seriously dealt with him, and I'm sure in the next coming after the conference or before the conference, they will start to purge him to say that let the chairmanship or the premier goes to the chairman, the current chairman, even though it's the prerogative of the president to appoint the premiers. But I'm telling you, the PEC will also say we want to recall our premier.
Now, the whole issue around the Taliban, there's Siboniso Duma, he's a chairperson, Nomakubu Similane, deputy chairperson, Begim Tolo, secretary, Sipotlo Muka, deputy secretary, and Ntutu Komahlaba, the treasurer. People talking about the Taliban faction, and international observers will be very, very alarmed to hear that the Taliban from Afghanistan, are making inroads in South African in South African politics. What's your take on these flamboyant names that people think within the? There's the Adiwele, and in Gauteng there's Adiwele, and then there's Ankole. What's with the Taliban? What can you tell us about this Taliban faction? Yes.
Well, it's politicking and coming with concepts and so on. But I think Taliban, as you might want to think about it from Afghanistan, they are the ones with the new change. So I think South African politics of the ANC, you have WMC, you have Adiwele. Not necessarily Adiwele, but the RET. It's like you don't offer a new, both of them are fighting, they don't offer new things. That's why they came with the Taliban to say we're offering a new change. But as much as we can speak, all these factions, all this naming of groupings will come. But what is their ideological orientation, and what is it that they want to do that the others did not do? It's like maybe it's their time to eat or what. So I think this recycling of leadership and rhetoric is huge in the ANC. That's why we end up people electing or choosing leaders without quality and so on. And these groupings are so rife in the ANC. So we have now seen Adiwele, which also is manifesting in various provinces, and also with Taliban, which also are largely to have worked with Mkhize and also Adiwele with Paul Mashatile. It's something that we are seeing in the ANC, the groupings which comes before closer to the conference. But I'm telling you, what is this, the ideological orientation that these particular provinces are bringing, and what is it, or these groupings are bringing, and also with these groupings, what is it that they want to seek to achieve in order to change the lives of ordinary South Africans?
Right now, let's talk about the before we talk about the policy conference. Still on the ANC in KZN, we saw that the ANC in KZN coming out very strongly against the step aside resolution, saying that it is not implemented universally across the board. They believe that certain comrades have been, politically assassinated or put aside because of the step aside clause. And the policy conference coming up this week, they want to challenge the step aside clause. And what do you make of this? Because many South Africans that are observing, ANC politics actually support the step aside clause because it makes sense. If you've been charged with a crime and you are a leader within the party, you'll be asked to step aside until you clear your name, and that makes sense. But why would they have a problem with this? And how far do you think they're going to get with challenging this resolution as such?
Well, the step aside, it's a good resolution, by the way, but the way it has been handled, some perceive it as the one who is in charge will always have an upper hand to those ones who do not have, who are not in the administration. Like, for an example, some are alleging that President Ramaphosa is using his power to peddle, also to deal with others. Look, I don't have a problem with step aside, and I've seen many provinces are calling for the step aside resolution. But the only challenge that I have is that it can be used to deal with an innocent person. For an example, look at how ACE and many others, this thing has dealt with them, and no trial yet. I think the best way, if they were to have this, to reach a compromise at the conference about step aside, it must say rather those who are charged, and then also those who are starting trial, they should be step aside. Look, they can charge you, and we all know that you can be charged and the case can drag up for 3 years. And then after that, they drop a case. So you simply means you lost everything. So I'm thinking that rather, let's say step aside is there only if when the trial starts.
Okay. All right, Dr. John, let's also get into the whole policy conference. Why should we, as members of the public, even bother to follow the policy conferences that take place within the ANC? Is there something? Go ahead.
Well, the ANC policies ultimately informs the government of today, because they will be the leading political party. But there are certain things that they require two-third majority, like your land expropriation and many other things, for them to change the constitution. But other policies, they can be able to drive them within the ANC. That's why it's important that always the ANC conference, policy conference or any conference is people have keen interest, because ultimately it forms the government of today, because of the ANC currently in South Africa, which obviously is declining, but it still remain the majority political party. That's why it's important for many of us to go and check what is happening in the policies of the ANC. Well, the ANC has numerous policies, good policies, but the problem that happens is the implementation of the policies. Look, they have proper policies. No any other political parties in South Africa have better policies that can advance the interest of the society. As much as the ANC with their neoliberal stance, but they have the policies that seek to achieve to assist the broader society at large. But the problem then happens with the implementation of those particular resolution and policies. That's why the ANC end up we see ANC wanting. We don't know what is happening with the ANC is because they are unable to implement what they have, which is important to the society.
All right. Now, some of the discussion papers reveal, very interesting aspects of the policy conference. But before we go to the actual discussion papers, you were talking about implementation is a problem. A former leader of the ANC, former president of the country, slammed the ANC leader, Cyril Ramaphosa, saying that since the State of the Nation address in February, it's been half the year, almost gone, and not much of a dent has been placed in poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Your thoughts?
President Mbeki was correct to have raised his views, which almost everyone raised our views. Though I think the platform was not correct. I think as a president, he could have arranged a meeting with the president to engage on this particular issue. But reality is South Africa, we live in an equal society. Whether racial, financial, economic, and otherwise, South Africa remains unequal society and a divided society. So with the President Ramaphosa at the helm, I think this inequality has deepened too much. That's why each and everyone now is calling for a regime change. They're calling for a leadership. And also the lack of leadership that comes from Ramaphosa, similarly, it's something that everyone and now and then they're attacking him. So I think for the former president to have risen this thing, I think he was so disappointed that this thing we have still stuck with these issues. But the same President Mbeki also we must also be able to critique him in his administration, what he did right, what he did not do right. I think he was good to also to critique President Ramaphosa so that we can maybe perhaps see what Ramaphosa can do, because within 100 days he might have promised there and there and then he failed. I think something that obviously in South Africa everyone that is seeing is that there's a proper lack of leadership that arises from the current president.
All right. Now, the actual policy conference itself, Cyril Ramaphosa in those discussion papers says that the priority for the party is to the improvement of the quality of lives of people rather than the often narrow and internal party focus. But the ANC itself is really focused on surviving politically. They talk about the fact that they are losing power in the metros as the various parties on a crusade to obliterate the ANC and to declare the demise of the ANC as their only primary goal. Talking about ideological onslaught against the ANC in all forms of media, So, what emerges here is a party that's paranoid. It's a party that's hearkening towards a one-party kind of state that doesn't like any type of opposition. It will be interesting to see how that actually, pans out with regards policy.
Well, the ANC obviously look at Gauteng. I was so disappointed in Gauteng. Look, Banyana were playing with Morocco. They sent the best players so that they can win the final. Why is the ANC fielding people who are not the best? Where else they have the pool of candidates that can salvage the ANC? So it's something that I've already observed. And also even the question of women in the leadership. It's only Gauteng wherein the women are in majority in the top 5. So it's something that the ANC must also work on it. But the most important thing the ANC that must do is the question of winning the 2024 election, and what kind of the ANC requires for them to win the 2014 election. It requires the ANC that is renewed itself, that has sat down, that has, deliberated on what to do. But the ANC that needs to deliver services to the majority of people, to the society at large. Look, during the July unrest, also the recent disaster, the floods in KZN, people are still complaining that the ANC is still haven't provided them. We still depend on gift of the givers as government. That is wrong. That is wrong. I think the ANC also need to sit down. They need to look into what happened, what should happen. But the best way for me to tell the ANC is that they need to go back during this conference and reflect. And this, this fighting, these factions among themselves, they will fight even after when they have lost power even in governance. We'll see the real people who love the ANC. They will not be there. It only be few those who were in the ANC. The rest will join the new political parties because of power. People love the bread, and then it's a serious concern that look. People are saying Ramaphosa will lose even the December conference, but the character of the individual in the ANC, we know that they can be bought at any time. That's why we're saying Ramaphosa can still win this thing. EVS man.
Mm. Very interesting you talk about the demise of the ANC. There are some political writers that have given the party 10 years left of being relevant in the South African political landscape. My final question to you, Doctor, are you expecting anything major of any significance that will come out of the policy conference in terms of some earth-moving policies that really, give South Africans hope? Because, so far we've not
No,
been...
look, there's nothing new that will come. They will just only fight for step aside. The ANC, like I said, has good policies. The problem is the implementation of those particular policies. That's all. Look, it took them how many years to try to deal with the question of professionalization of public service. That thing has long been been taken as a resolution of the ANC. Some of us in public administration were saying they failed to take a simple decision on professionalization of public service. The policies have long been there. There are many other policies that the ANC have. Look, at some point during Begi's time, they had two-thirds majority, but they failed to deal with the resolution of land, free education, and many other policies. ANC has proper policies. The problem is the implementation thereof. Now we're just going to see clashes of personality cults there. Is my time to eat? But the ideological orientation, ideological issue that should be addressed, none of those particular issues. But like I said, ANC has proper policies. The problem is the implementation. Look, we can go to ICT, the issues of analog and digital. They've ANC has long taken a policy decision. The issue is the implementation. This official, even when they implement, they ask, what should I eat? Where can I eat? That is the mentality that we have in South Africa. Look, COVID presented itself in South Africa. If we're determined on building South Africa, look, China during this period of COVID, how many hospitals they've built, how many times they've built these things. They've built a lot of stuff. I'm saying South Africa, we could have done something within that particular period. But
Absolutely. Dr. John, I think on that note, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your giving your time as you always do on this show. And thank you very much. We want to speak to you after the policy conference and on the road to December, the elective conference, just to give us some understanding and how to make sense of everything as they develop. Thank you very much again, Dr. John.
thank you, and thank you to your listeners, and good night.
You're welcome. Dr. John Molepo there from the University of Mpumalanga. He is a senior lecturer in public administration, talking to us there about the ANC's policy conference that's coming up. The key words for the ANC is that they want to be a leader of society. They want to spearhead a moral regeneration. And they also want to fight against what they call social decadence. And they believe they have the policies to achieve all that. Stay tuned to Stellar Media as we bring you more analysis and understanding of the ANC Policy Conference, which takes place this Friday from Nasrec in Johannesburg, bringing our time to 20 minutes to 8 Central African time. We take a break. We come back with all things Palestine. Stay tuned.